Of all the Skeksis we've spoken about so far in the series, there is one who remains unspoken. Not due to his lack of attention, but more so his quiet, submissive nature, hiding behind the commotions of the castle, observing events rather than taking place in them. And through this subdued demeanor, he mimed his way through the many trine of the Skeksis' existence, keeping track of time through the gifts he received from others and biting his gold coins to taste their worth. He was the deepest and perhaps the most interesting skeksis of them all. And of course, the treasurer, skekShod. With an introduction such as this, one could easily believe that this character was the most weak-minded among them. But in skekShod's earlier life, this was not the case. Besides Skekna, he was the only one who thought a monarchy was unnecessary and ridiculous, and was quite outspoken and rebellious about it. Upon entering the soon-to-be throne room one day, he overheard Skekso officially proclaimed a new emperor. To the surprise of all, he openly mocked Skekso, denouncing his new authority. But Skekso was no fool, and rose swiftly from his throne, using his king's scepter as a club, and cracked him over the head, cementing his power and forever alienating skekShod. Preceding this event, Skekna became increasingly distant from his old companion, and left skekShod alone to deal with his humiliation. The attack had not only left skekShod physically hurt, but emotionally scarred. As Augur once said, "Minds forget, scars remember," and that is precisely what this creature was experiencing. He lost his voice of reason, instead choosing to stay silent where he would once speak. And he began to develop many obsessive-compulsive behaviors, such as wringing his hands nervously and becoming catatonic at the threat of physical violence. He also devolved his speech, and whether it was from lack of conversation or some form of brain damage, he adopted a stutter, unable to pronunciate full words unless he was insulting someone. Interestingly, the only time his voice was not troubled was when he was cast into a rage. Fittingly, skekShod soon found conversation and storytelling obnoxious and pointless, preferring his silent ways to the flapping beaks of his fellow overlords. And with this seclusion, his title of the Treasurer would take on its full meaning. He became obsessive and materialistic, choosing only to talk to the others if they provided him with offerings. He would also bribe them into gifting him items, as he was childishly distracted by jewelry, precious stones, and of course, money. On several occasions, he even bribed Skekzok the Ritual Master into giving him his royal scepter, as well as entrusting him with speaking roles for certain rituals. Even 1,000 trine after these events, Skekso never lost his bitterness for the treasurer, sensing his lack of faith in the Alliance of the Crystal remained strong. And as such, he was tasked with overseeing the collection of tithes from the Sprighton in Sammy Thicket, a place he detested for many reasons. skekShod was a bigot and hated podlings, viewing them as underdeveloped simpletons who lacked any real skill, including their cooking in this rustic, dirty environment. In fact, on one occasion, he was served swamp water soup by our hero Hup himself, to which of course he expressed his extreme distaste, perhaps taking his long-awaited turn to openly mock someone. But to his shock, another crack on the head was the only response he received, as Hup took up his spoon to physically display his feelings. Hup was, of course, eventually banished, and as far as we know, has not encountered skekShod since. skekShod was an individual equally troubled and gifted with his words, an odd balance of light and dark himself, and adorned with the valuables of others. However, unlike the ornamentalist, the treasurer was rather simple when it came to his outward attire. Reflecting his subtle nature, he wore only plain, undecorated robes with drab colors and no ornamentation or specific distinguishing features. Even the jewels and gems inlaid on his collar were colorless, set into an abacus-shaped design that framed his horrid face. He covered the back part of his head and neck with a hood, giving him the appearance of a rotting snake crawling out of its hole, which no doubt provided him with a feeling of security and the comfort of remaining partially hidden in public, perhaps attempting to hide his shame. Following the Gartham Wars, he did eventually form a political alliance with both skekShod the Ritual Master and skekShod the Gourmand, and can be seen at the beginning of the Dark Crystal supporting skekShod as he debated his options in succeeding Skekso. He even continued to plot against skekUng after he was appointed, and although the Ritual Master attempted to manipulate the Gartham Master a number of times, it was ultimately unsuccessful, and skekShod fell back into the shadows again. No one had called upon him to return to the castle for the second Battle of Stone in the Wood, so why would they need him now? He was not a valued member of the court, and possessed no tactical skills or ferocity in battle, and so his will disappeared. skekShod's counterpart was an Uru known as Ur-Yod, the numerologist. Ur-Yod was a quiet creature himself, and spent most of his time keeping track of it. He would build timekeeping devices from pieces of wood, string, and rocks that chronicled the passing of Trine. He also assisted Aughra with the construction and understanding of her observatory, passing on his knowledge of measurements. The light comes from Ur-Yod's careful collection and recording of wisdom, an important role in Thra's history, while the dark comes from skekShod's obsession with chronicling his life through greed, compulsion, and meaningless, vain trinkets. The Treasurer was a monster of few words, and often none at all. He was as twisted as they come, but unlike his fellow lords, his thoughts and actions remained hidden beneath his skin. Although constantly an outcast, this is the quality that made him so unique. He was a passive verbalist, a quiet ghost, a set of dark eyes lingering in the shadows of the castle. He was the living embodiment of silent evil, the most feared evil, for the haunting emotions of this character could never truly be known. He is the wall in the castle that all Dark Crystal fans wish could talk. Who knows what he has seen, what forms his nightmares, and what secrets will never be uncovered?